You've done your bit checking on legislation, I've just checked on my legislation. As I said to you, the shop does not have to accept it just because it is legal tender. You said it's legal tender, you are correct, however it is a commemorative coin. On the internet they're worth about 20 quid.
Well,
right, so here is what is going to happen. Either you are going to pay for your fuel correctly, or you are going to fill out their civil recovery form so that you can arrange to make payment at a later date, or I'm going to arrest you for bilking.
What's bilking?
Bilking, making off without payment. You've got to the point where payment is due, you're now refusing to make payment, therefore I will treat it as a criminal offence. So how would you wish to proceed at this point?
Well, I have got means to pay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not going to fill out a civil recovery form as you put it.
Right, so what's the means that
what was the option 2?
So option 1 is either you pay, option 2 is you fill out the form, option 3 is that you get arrested.
Well, pay.
No, you pay with legal tender that they will accept.
That is legal tender.
No, they don't have...
But if this is a £50 note and he said, oh, look, we don't accept £50 notes because there's lots of forgeries,
exactly.
Would you be doing exactly the same thing now?
Yes. So if you go into a corner shop and try and pay for a penny chew with a £50 note, they are perfectly within that...
Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're diving into one of the most jaw-dropping police encounters you'll ever see. Auditor Brett Chamberlain is at a Tesco gas station, armed with a £100 Royal Mint coin, just trying to pay for his fuel. But what happens next is pure chaos. A sergeant arrives, ignores the law, sides with the store, and arrests him, despite Brett doing nothing wrong. Stay tuned, because this case will show you exactly what happens when police ego meets legal ignorance, and why one man walked away with thousands in a lawsuit.
Different because...
No, it's not different.
No,
you have offered a form of payment that they will not accept. The principle is exactly the same.
Well, if you arrest me, it'll be a wrongful arrest.
Yeah? It's not. It's a lawful arrest because I've explained the situation and I've explained that I believe you're doing this for
Are you a
dishonest
sergeant
reason.
or an officer?
I am a sergeant.
Right.
Okay, so my point is also that coin is not worth the face value of it. It's not legal tender in such a way that this shop has to accept it as being valued at £100.
Okay, so it has... Hang on.
Short of the mark.
No, I'm not. So it is got a face value of £100, so it is worth £100.
It's not.
Well, you say that, but the Bank of England, the House of Commons, the state, all the institutions that came before you say it is, right? But you say it isn't, right? Now you say it's only worth whatever you say it was. Interestingly, I don't know if you've looked at the price of silver, but that's probably worth about £48 in silver. Hang on, I haven't finished yet. So that's £48 in silver.
Yeah.
Whereas, how much is a £20 note or £50 note worth in plastic? What?
Right here, the tension explodes. The sergeant claims Brett is committing a criminal offense, but legally, under the Theft Act 1978, leaving without paying only applies if you intend not to pay. Brett hasn't left. He's actively trying to pay with valid legal tender. This is a textbook example of misunderstanding the law turning a non-issue into a potential arrest. And notice how the sergeant keeps giving options. But every option is designed to trap Brett. What would you do if faced with this? Comment below.
Make sure it's not an unlawful arrest.
Another unit, please. This chap's about to be arrested.
Would it be unlawful arrest?
Well, it's not a wrongful arrest.
It would be a wrongful arrest. Well, how can you arrest somebody for refusing to pay when they're offering to pay with a coin of the realm?
Because you're not offering to pay with payment that they can accept or will accept or have to accept. No.
Now, interestingly, you said that you've done some research on this and I've done this before.
Yeah.
Well, what was the outcome of it last time?
It was no further action.
Why was that then?
I don't know.
Well, how come you've got a record of that?
I'm about to let you drive off from here.
Well, how come you got a record that I did it last time, but you haven't got a record of the outcome?
Well, because I haven't got time to look at that right now.
But you have got time to arrest me and deal with all the paperwork that'll be involved in that.
Yep.
So that's just abusing your power, I think, because what you're trying to do is
you're... power proportionally. These people here are trying to run a business, and you are making life extremely difficult by being obstructive in how you're going to pay.
Here's where the sergeant loses all credibility. Brett presents a £100 Royal Mint coin, fully legal tender, yet the sergeant calls it a commemorative coin and refuses to accept it. This is not just stubbornness. It's a fundamental legal mistake. Legal tender is backed by the government and legally settles debts. By denying this, the sergeant shows he doesn't understand currency law, and he's about to turn a civil transaction into a criminal case, purely on personal opinion.
Here to enforce the law, I'm not here to decide. I just suspect that an offence has taken place, okay? So I'm not convicting you, and you're refusing, to cooperate with me any further. You're refusing to resolve this situation by giving these people your details. So therefore,
no, don't, because what you're trying to encourage me to do is not to give them my details, but to fill out a legally binding form. You're actually encouraging me to fill out a legally binding form, right? That would be detrimental to me.
Why? Because you have to pay for your fuel just like everybody else in this petrol station. No,
because you're forcing me not to use cash. It's exactly the same as you.
I'm forcing you to provide the legal tender that this business is willing to accept.
But it's not for them to pick and choose. Which
it is, absolutely.
No, it's not.
If they will only accept payment in Pokemon cards, that is entirely up to them.
Yeah, but they need to state that on the pump. Right, when I take the fuel, they need to say payment only in Pokemon. I'm not trying to. What do you think? What do you think I'm trying to achieve then out of this?
So why are you not willing to offer any other sort of payment? Do you have bank cards on you?
Maybe it's a matter of principle. This is a coin of the realm. You shouldn't be threatening to arrest me because of their preference as to what type of note or coin they accept. That's ridiculous.
Look at Brett's calm logic here. The surgeon admits he's dealt with this situation before, but can't recall the outcome. That's dangerous policing, relying on ego instead of facts. Brett is offering legal money, standing right there, following the rules. Yet the officer is obsessed with creating an offense where none exists. If you were Brett, would you back down or stand your ground? Drop your thoughts in the comments. It's a tough test of principle versus authority.
What your job is it to state what type of coin that Tesco accepts or not?
Surely it's my job to make sure that you don't go past the point of payment without making
Well,
payment.
I haven't driven off, have I? I've got every intention of paying with this coin.
No.
If I had no intention, if I was trying to do something dishonest, I'd driven off, wouldn't I? But the fact is, I've waited here for you to come and I've discussed it with you. I've tried to explain, being very civil, and be rude, have I? In any way, I've got no disrespect for the police whatsoever.
No.
Might go downhill a bit if you arrest me unlawfully.
Okay.
I just think, please, just check that it's a lawful arrest, because I don't think it is.
I believe it is.
And the whole point of cash and legal tender is that you cannot be successfully prosecuted for non-payment if you've offered legal tender. So if I had Scottish notes, right, now they're not legal tender in the UK, they're not legal tender full stop, but Tesco's...
This is where the law gets crystal clear. Once Brett pumped the fuel, a debt existed. Legal tender must be accepted to settle that debt. The sergeant keeps quoting the Bank of England rules, but he misses the key point. Stores can refuse payment before goods are delivered, not after. Brett is fully within his rights, offering real money to settle a real debt. Ignoring this is not just a minor error. It's a complete breakdown of basic legal knowledge.
...to take the fuel, and I've taken the fuel, and now I've got a debt, and I'm offering to pay the debt in legal tender. Now in the store it's different, because I haven't taken the food, have I? In fact, if I'd have eaten the food, I'd be obligated to pay for it, and then it'd be the same scenario, just the same as if you went into a restaurant and had a meal, and then you have to pay afterwards, and you offered to pay in that. Right, they can't lawfully have you prosecuted for failure to pay if you've offered a reasonable means of payment and they've refused to accept it.
Yeah, but you've refused to identify yourself to this person.
Well, I don't need to, do I?
I'm now starting to view your actions as being dishonest.
How have I been dishonest?
I suspect an offence is going to
How have I been dishonest?
Because you're refusing to give your information to this gentleman, so that...
But he's not entitled to my information, is he?
He is.
Okay, if I told you what my...
Because you have a debt to settle up with him.
So
to go to the restaurant scenario, if you ate your meal and then said, oh, I've forgotten my wallet, I've got no means of paying.
Oh, no means of paying.
Yeah, okay. So at that point, you're not being dishonest. At the point that you refuse to identify yourself, or you put Mickey Mouse care of Disney World on a piece of paper and say, here's my details, you're then becoming dishonest.
What about if, like, we went to the restaurant, we had a meal, right, and then I pulled out a £50 note and they said, look, we don't accept £50 notes. They can't make a decision about refusing to accept the £50 notes when you owe them money. They can only refuse to, they can only refuse to go through with the transaction in the first place. It's only because you've had the goods and you owe a debt that they can't refuse to.
And there it is, the arrest. Despite offering full legal tender, Brett is handcuffed and taken into custody. The surgeon's justification? Speculation about a potential offense. That's right. He's arresting someone for something that hasn't happened yet. It's a stunning example of how officers can abuse power when they misunderstand the law. Brett's calm, civil response contrasts sharply with the aggressive policing, highlighting the real injustice unfolding.
So these coins are made by the Royal Mint.
Yep, and they are legal tender.
And they are
No
legal
argument
tender.
there.
Yeah. So how can I be refusing to pay and being dishonest in any way when I'm offering to pay with a coin of the realm, a legal
Because
tender
you've
coin?
offered a form of payment that they are unable or unwilling to accept. Therefore, as I said, the onus is on you to find alternative means. You've failed to do that,
Okay.
and you are now proposing to leave here without actually giving any means of identification so they can arrange at a later date to make payment with you.
Okay.
So therefore, because of that, I suspect that you are about to commit an offence of making off without payment.
So, I reckon that if you've offered to pay, and I've offered to pay lots of times, got it on video, and right, and they refuse to accept the payment, I can't see how that I've committed a crime, even if I don't
failed
pay.
to provide an alternative means of payment or come to an alternative agreement.
So what you're suggesting is that you're going to arrest me based on the opinion of a Tesco staff member, whereas another member of staff might
based
have
on my suspicion.
Suspicion.
I'm sure with the amount of time this gentleman has spent here, and the fact that other colleagues are aware of the fact that we have been here for half an hour.
Nah, 16 minutes.
I'm sure if he were able to take that coin, he would have done it by now, because he's got plenty of other things to do. You are costing them money by the fact that your car's sat here taking out these 2 lanes.
Well, I've offered to move it, but he said no.
If they could...
I offered to move it, but he said no.
But if they were willing to take this at any point, they would have done by
Now,
now.
don't you think, Ben, right, that the country's biggest retailer would have a simple, basic understanding of coins of the realm and the legal tender situation and what they can do and what they can't do?
Well, they clearly do by the fact that they are not obliged to take it just because it's legal tender.
Because he said so. But how do you know he's right? And how do you know that what he's saying is the opinion of Tesco's as a company as a whole?
It's not that he's right, it's that the Bank of England is right, and it's the Bank of England that states that the shopkeepers are not legally obliged to accept any royal tender.
Right, okay, I understand where you're coming from with that, but that's referring to buying something from a store, not for paying a debt.
Okay, it's still the same,
No, it's not.
same situation.
No,
Okay,
it's not.
that's fine.
It's actually on the Bank of England website what legal tender is.
Yeah, it is. As I said, I have no argument.
Look at the logic Brett uses here. He compares the gas station to a restaurant scenario to show the absurdity of the surgeon's claim. Once goods or services are provided, a business cannot refuse legal tender. It's the law. Yet, the officer keeps pushing, creating a problem that shouldn't exist. Every moment Brett explains this, the surgeon doubles down on ignorance. It's a masterclass in how not to handle a routine transaction and a warning for all officers about blindly siding with businesses over the law.
So I'm arresting you on suspicion of making off without payment. You do not have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention when questioned something on which you later will rely on in court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence. Do you understand?
Yep.
Okay, so my intention at this time is to take you to Exeter Police Station, where you will be put into custody. The reason for that is for the prompt and effective investigation of the offence and to confirm your identity and your name and address.
Well, it'll be unlawful arrest, won't it?
No, not at all.
Right, where do you want me to park
I
my
have
car
the
then?
suspicion that you're about to commit an offence.
Well, what offence am I committing?
I've told you, I think you're about to make off without payment, and if I don't arrest you, then you will make off without payment. So there's my grounds.
Well, I'm offering to make
Can you
payment.
come out of the car, please?
Yeah,
sir?
stop. No.
Okay.
There's no use to use violence, is there?
No, well, step out of the car,
let me
please.
just get my affairs together, all right?
Okay. Do you want to provide your details, or are you going to go to custody?
Well, I'll provide my details to you.
Yeah.
In the end, Brett was fully in the right, and the courts agreed. He received a £5,000 settlement for the wrongful arrest. This case is proof that when police officers ignore basic laws and let ego guide decisions, the law will hold them accountable. It's also a powerful reminder that standing up for your rights works. If you found this as shocking as we did, hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more jaw-dropping courtroom breakdowns.